ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. That's kind of redundant, isn't it? Anyway, today's matchup is between the top two selling mid-size SUVs in the Philippine market for the year 2017. In this corner, with sales surpassing 19,000 units, taking home a few awards, including Best 4x4 SUV of the Year from CAGI, the Mitsubishi Montero Sport GT 4x4. And in this corner, no stranger to awards either, currently on its third consecutive Automobile of the Year award from AFPCA and selling nearly twice as many than its competitor, the Toyota Fortuner V 4x4. Game. Mitsubishi Montero and Toyota Fortuner are both equipped with LED headlamps, LED fog lamps, DRLs, and as you'd expect, generous approach angles. The Fortuner's got simple and organized lines. It's got a certain calmness to it, if you know what I mean. Sure, it's been called vanilla from time to time, but look at it. It's got confidence, and it looked like it's ready to lead, right? Whereas the Montero exudes youth, nouveau lines. It's got the right amount of radical. It looks like it delves in more risks. Now the front clip, it's not disrespectful, but it's also not the type of thing that's gonna be happy in a 9 to 5, if you catch my drift. Now, while both automobiles have turn signals on their side mirrors, side steps to help people in and out of the car, and sit on 18-inch tires, the Fortuner sits on a ground clearance total of 193 millimeters, while the Montero sits on 218 millimeters. Down the side, the Montero's windows are much more organized, really. It's got a beginning and an end. It's got structure. Kind of an odd thing to say when I describe something that won't fit into a 9 to 5, right? But clearly it does. The side panels, however, that's a bit much. Look at it, it's a little too out there. It's not like it's a drift car, you know, the things that they snap on the sides. No, naman. But if you look at the Fortuner, the side panels are, well, tamer, nicer, classier. It's not out there, it's not OTT. It's neater, that's what it is. Now, in terms of length, width, and height, well, that's just gonna be a lot of numbers thrown your way. But what is important is that the Fortuner is bigger, that's what she said, on all of those aspects by as little as 10 millimeters to as much as 40 millimeters. Save one aspect, the wheelbase. The Montero is actually longer by 55 millimeters, bringing it to a grand total of 2.8 meters. And now for the rear, a very sensitive issue. Well, at least for the Montero. Obviously because of the taillights. See, people have been up in arms over these reflectors that go all the way down here, to a point where some people have actually gotten body-colored panels to cover this section right here. They are literally tongue-lashing the heck out of this thing, like it was Optimus Prime that got stabbed and he's crying blood from his eyes. It's not the one as bad as the third Transformers movie. I mean, yeah, it's quirky, but it doesn't look that bad. On the other side, the Fortuner. Well, obviously, it's mildly stylish, it's classic, and it does what it's supposed to do. Not vanilla, it's got more style than its front clip. You know, I just realized that I've seen these two things during the day side by side, but I've never actually seen them at night. Let's check that out right now. Bippity boppity boop. Lights, please. Much better. See, it wasn't that bad, but I have to admit, the classic look of the Fortuner at night, Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. It's very plush up here. It's very nice. Now there are plastics that you can find all around the cabin, but they're actually okay. Save maybe for the shiny one by the shifter, because it really looks like it's a scratch magnet. The seats are very well bolstered. They'll definitely keep you in place on long drives on twisty roads, but not too much that'll give you a strain when you're, unfortunately, stuck on edge of traffic, or you know the type, right? Now, but if that happens, rest assured that you do have 6 speakers and a subwoofer that sound absolutely great. Now in the dash, it's your average 2 meters with the computer in the center. Nothing great, but the amount of toys that you have up here, that's special. You've got parking sensors, blind spot sensors, you got a reverse camera, paddle shifters, cruise control, adaptive cruise control too, which is a trip. If you want to see what it's like, check out a review of the CR-V diesel. It is the bomb. You've also got a nice knob here for your 4x4 controls, which are much better than the Fortuner. And check this out. Sunroof. So inside, you've got your standard configuration on the dash with your computer in the center. There are plastics all around and some fall wood, which is kind of okay. You've got your controls for everything on your steering wheel and your 6.5-inch infotainment system, which definitely needs an upgrade. Speaking of the stuff on the steering wheel, you do have cruise and you do have a backup sensor, but you don't have a backup camera and you don't have adaptive cruise. Now, if this is the top of the line, it's kind of falling short of the Montero there. One other thing I should point out up here is that the seats may not be as bolstered as that of the Montero, which means that you actually have more wiggle room, which is really nicer. But the problem is that when you're taking turns at speed, yeah, you might be flying around a little bit. Oh, and it has to be said that the Fortuner does have only power seats for the driver and none for the passenger. The second row doesn't have extra special toys, just your standard really. Down here, when you put your center armrest down, you've got 2 cup holders that appear out of nowhere. You've got no air vents or charging points here up front, but you do have a 12-volt, 120-watt power socket there. While there are no vents down there, as mentioned, the vents are on the ceiling though, which is great, including the controls which reach all the way back to the third row. Now, you can slide the second row forward so that you can position yourself for people in the third row, which obviously is a plus for them. Now, up here in this position, it's okay, but in its normal position, yeah, I don't see fitting 3 adults back here as a problem at all. The Montero 2 doesn't have a lot of toys in the second row, almost the same as the Fortuner really. No air vents on the bottom, just your center armrest with cup holders that appear out of nowhere. But other than that, it's pretty standard. No air vents down there, but there are air vents on the ceiling, which is nice. It cools the cabin really, really quickly with your controls up there. Now the seats, I like the seats here a little bit better because, well, they're much nicer and feel good to the touch too. Space, very adequate. 3 average size adults, no problem. The level of comfort for passengers on the third row is almost identical. It's good for smaller individuals and jaunts. Anyone taller or any trip longer, well, you're going to want to get out of the car and stretch your legs every once in a while. Advantage on this point does go to the Fortuner because the second row slides forward, creating that much more space for the third row. Toys at the back, pretty simple. Fortuner, power tailgate. Montero, none. That's simple. But it does have a 12-volt outlet in the back for those coolers that have refrigerating components. But that's about it. Space, not that simple. Allow me to explain. In fact, let me show you. These are your standard 20 by 20 by 20 boxes, filled with old toys, old clothes, hopes and dreams, pretty much useless stuff. And we're going to try to see how many of these boxes fit in each of these cars. Simple. As you can probably tell, the third row seats are kind of bothersome because they don't fall flush to the ground. Rather, they're suspended. And that's going to cause problems if you're trying to fit, well, these boxes inside the car. So you can get one into it pretty easy. But the second one, you know, your box of hopes and dreams, Yeah, unless you crush that, nothing else is going in there. However, if you do fold the second row, now you got more room for both boxes. Do you have room for a third, however? Nope. Sadly, that's the max. 2.5 boxes. And well, half a box doesn't really count, does it? Now, the Montero, however, completely different story. See, it does have a lip, but it doesn't have hanging seats. The third row seats are flush to the ground. So how many boxes with the third row down? 1, no problem. Will it fit 2? Yep, that looks good to me. So even with the third row seats down, you already know that the Montero has more space. But how much more space with the second row seats down? Let's find out. Just as I expected. You could be a baggage handler for PAL and still get the job done. Power is fed in gently and smoothly by a 2.4-liter 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, if you need more kick, well, accessing the 181 horses and 430 newton meters of torque can easily be found by getting aggressive with the accelerator. The paddle shifters are there, but the Montero will downshift and hold that gear depending on the terrain and the manner that you're driving. Unfortunately, the paddle shifters are on the steering column, which means they don't move. So it might be a problem if you need to change gears mid-turn. However, with that being said, all in all, it's still very intuitive. The suspension, well, it actually drives more like a car than it does an off-roader. It's soft, but not bouncy. It's a surprise, really, considering this car's 4x4 capabilities. Now, while the paddle shifters are much easier to contend with in the Fortuner because they are on the steering wheel, which allows your hands to remain on the steering wheel, to react to the changing road conditions ahead, it must be said that the Fortuner, though, has if you can tell, it's a much stiffer ride. Now, it's got 7 horsepower less at 174 compared to that of the Montero, but it has 30 newton meters more than the Montero and tops up at 450. Body roll, yeah, that's a little bit more pronounced in this car. And plus it dips too. Every time you accelerate and brake, you really can't feel it. But I gotta say, that engine, oh boy, that engine is tried, tested, and true. So, here it is. The Toyota Fortuner V 4x4 comes in at 2,245,000 Philippine pesos, while the Mitsubishi Montero Sport GT comes in at 2,162,000 Philippine pesos. Now, you may argue that the Toyota comes with a bigger engine. True, but for that much less money, you get a car that essentially rides better, drives better, looks better, has got more interior space, and has got all those toys on the inside. So clearly, to us, the winner is definitely the Mitsubishi Montero. Who's a good boy? Yes, you are!